Hi, this is Mike Regan with TransAct's 2-Minute Warning for the week of May 12th. In this week's 2-Minute Warning, we're taking a look at some issues associated with the recently announced changes in the tariff program and looking at how it will impact your cost and supply chains. Last week, we hosted an outstanding webcast with our friends from the National Industrial Transportation League and CSCMP. Now, we had some great resources from Thompson Hine and Fleury. Dan and Karyn did a great job talking about the China ship tax, how the 301, 232 tariffs, a bunch of stuff there that you really need to listen to. And then Janson, in case you're wondering, do I really need to listen to it? You need to listen what Janson shared when he talked about how SanMar, a great company that very few have ever heard about, a multi-billion-dollar company, is handling the tariff situation. They're moving a significant percentage of their supply chain. How do you do that, and what are some of the other issues? Now, a couple of things coming out of that webcast at the top of the list was the need for a tariff management plan. One of the things we talked about is you need to be able to quantify the cost of these tariffs based on the changes that are occurring. A lot of companies are saying, oh no, not an Excel spreadsheet. TransAct has a software that can help you do that. Second, how's it going to impact your cash flow? Once again, TransAct can help you figure out how it's going to impact your cash flow. And then let's talk about the inventories. You know, some people said, well, I have a just in time, but now do I go to just in case and order everything? No, you don't. Not if you want to have a fortified balance sheet like our friend Gary Schilling in an economic interview that we did with them. You call TransAct, we can give you some ideas and talk to you about how to do just that. Fourth, though, is the optionality. What are the things you could be doing to mitigate the tariff issue? It's not just foreign trade zones and bonded warehouses. There's a whole section on Incoterms, for example, that could have a significant impact on how tariffs impact your company. And finally, there's the strategies that companies are going to be using to have some discussions with suppliers and customers about who shares the cost. Now, finally, one of the other things we want to talk about is what's happening in the LTL sector, because it's not just tariffs that you need to be concerned about. In July, the NMFTA is going to be changing. It affects classifications. Will it affect your LTL cost? How much will it? You may not know the answers to that, so you simply need to give a call to your friends here at TransAct, because we can walk you through how this could potentially affect your company and what you can do about it. Finally, it wouldn't be a 2-minute warning if we couldn't talk about what's going on in the parcel sector. UPS and FedEx have announced some recent changes, the most prominent being that they want to charge you 2% simply to pay your bills to them. Now, if you negotiate with them, how do you do that? Well, they may say, well, we may go down to 1% if you go to 15-day instead of 30-day terms, but you run the risk of late penalty fees. How do you navigate all this stuff? You call your friends here at TransAct. We have a ton of solutions that we'd love to share with you. Won't cost you a dime, and we do all of this because with each and every 2-minute warning, we're here to remind you we are on your team, here to help and passionate about seeing you be successful. Thanks for your time.